is where we started, and we've transitioned into some other business ventures.
I just believe that I can always train for skill, but I can't train you to be nice.
And I kind of gave that up and decided to just go different directions.
And now, here's Just Sayin.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Just Sayin podcast. If you've ever tried to lose weight and failed, or tried to quit a habit and failed, you will be interested in today's guest on the Just Sayin podcast. Anthony Serino is a personal development coach and a hypnotist who will help you take control back into your life. And so, Anthony, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Charlie. I'm excited to be here.
I
love talking everything to do hypnosis. I love every chance I get to spread the good word about it. So
I know through the research that I've been doing that a lot of it is in your studio, in your office in Hyde Park, right off Route 9. And then you also can do it through Zoom as well, right?
Absolutely. So before this whole COVID-19 situation, I was seeing clients in my office. And then obviously when this whole pandemic broke out, I had to figure out a unique solution to a unique problem. And what I've quickly realized is that the efficacy of hypnosis is not diluted by doing it virtually. And to put it very simply, I put the right words in the right order so that people can unleash the power that they already have within. And doing it over the computer, or doing it in person, there really isn't much different. In fact, I find that most people are more comfortable being at home, doing it over the computer, than taking the time to come into the office, whether or not they know me, So I find it's actually a little more effective doing it via Zoom, actually. So
really,
yeah.
Because I would think that it's such an intimate type of process that you really have to get someone in that that kind of daydreaming state. They've got to focus, and you have to have a controlled environment. I would think that you can't have like the cat walking across the keyboard, or kids are screaming in the background. These are things you can't control. So when you're doing it through Zoom, how does that work effectively for you?
So it's funny because a lot of people do have that. It's a little bit of a misconception that hypnosis equals relaxation. Really, relaxation is just a byproduct of the process. Really, hypnosis has nothing to do with eyes being closed or being relaxed. For example, Charlie, if you've ever driven from point A to point B and you forgot how you got there, you were in a state of hypnosis, right? Meanwhile, there was plenty of things going on around you. There was sounds. You were driving a car. Or if you've ever cried during a movie, even though you knew they were actors and it was on set somewhere, you still had a very physiological and emotional response to something that was or was not real, right? So that's just, those are two examples of being in a hypnotic state. And what I do, like I said, I put the right words in the right order so that you can get into that state intentionally. And then we can use that state to speak directly to your unconscious, which is largely responsible for controlling your habits, thoughts, behaviors, emotions, etc. And then we can actually create new neural pathways. And it's not taboo. A lot of people think it's like this weird magical thing. And sometimes it certainly feels that way with the results that we get. But there are literally thousands of scientific peer-reviewed studies that point to the efficacy of hypnosis, not just as an ancillary tool, but also as a first-line intervention that often outperforms traditional modalities. So it's really what I think is like the secret to mindset, self-control, and really success in general.
So you had great success with it, and I think that was part of the impetus that got you going into this particular field. But you were, like around, I guess in your case, you lost 80 pounds. You were 330 pounds. But, you're a big guy. What are you, like 6'4", 6'5"?
6'5", yeah.
Yeah, 6'5". So a 6'5" guy can hide 330 pounds a lot better than like a 5'9" guy at 330,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But still, you felt you needed to lose the weight, and so you wound up losing the 80 pounds in 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago?
It was 4 years, but I lost the weight over 6 months.
Over 6 months, 4 years, but you've kept it off for 4 years.
Exactly.
And so I guess the question is, the hypnosis worked for you. You were able to keep the weight off, get the weight down, keep the weight off. Is there any kind of aftercare that helps you to succeed over these 4 years?
So the first thing I'll say is, if you had told me 5 years ago that I'd go see a hypnotist to lose weight or for anything, I'd probably laugh in your face. And then if you told me that I would then become a hypnotist and personal development coach, I'd bet my net worth against it. And but it changed my life so dramatically in so many ways that my life naturally aligned to going down that path. And really what it does is it creates a new normal for you, right? So I always knew that I had to eat less and move more, right? But that wasn't my normal. At an unconscious level, I had developed these eating habits, these beliefs, these patterns over my entire life, right? So my job, or any hypnotist's job, is not really to hypnotize you, but to de-hypnotize you, right? So my whole life I was told, oh, you're big boned. Hey, Anthony, finish all the food on your plate, right?
Good Italian household.
Exactly. Anthony, your whole family's big. You're supposed to be big, right? So these are all thoughts and beliefs that were ingrained in me that I operated. That was my operating system. So hypnosis allows you to go in and rewrite that and really create, like I said, it creates a new normal for you to set the foundation with.
But for hypnosis to work, and let's be clear about this, hypnosis can work for people who want it to work for them, right?
Exactly. So I vet my clients as thoroughly as I want them to vet me. Hypnosis isn't for everybody. It really comes down to, one, you need to want the change, right? And you need to believe that hypnosis can facilitate it, right? I'm not, I'm busy enough and I respect myself enough not to argue with people anymore about it, right? Some people think it's weird. You know what? Sometimes it is weird. I'm a hypnotist. What do you expect, right? But it's also a lot of fun and it's empowering and it's a really profound experience that most people call life-changing. So I really think people need to make sure they're ready for the process as much as they're ready for the change.
What got you to go for hypnosis for yourself? Because it wasn't the weight at first, was it?
Well, actually, it was the weight. It was the weight originally. I had tried everything. I had lost 30, 40 pounds here or there, and then I'd put on 50, and then I was just yo-yoing. So someone, I don't even remember who, suggested, why don't you look into hypnosis? And I looked it up online. I said, I could try. I was willing to try anything. And that was really the catalyst. The weight was the catalyst to getting into hypnosis. But I've also used, I had a crippling fear of flying where I would skip going on trips and lose a bunch of money on flights. I had crippling health anxiety. I mean, I spent thousands of dollars on tests I didn't need. And looking back, I laugh about it because I was such a different person in all the wrong ways. And, by the grace of God, I've been given this tool for myself, but now I just want everybody to be able to have access to it. So,
yeah, I thought it was the fear of flying first and then the weight, but it was the other way around.
It was the other way around. Yeah.
So talk us through that first flight that you took. I mean, how did you know that you were going to be able to get on the flight and you weren't going to freak out once you were on the plane?
So it's funny because I had a trip coming up and I was deathly afraid. Even though I had done the hypnosis for the weight loss and I was already researching and helping people, I still never worked on this phobia of flying. And so a week later, I had a trip coming up and I met with a hypnotist up in Albany, one of my colleagues that I know. And within 20 minutes, it was gone. And it got to the point, it was during the winter, there was a blizzard coming in New York. And our flight was still scheduled to take off. Every other flight had been canceled. And I had never been more excited to go on a trip and get on a plane than I was. And I was like, wow, what a test. You know what I mean? And it's funny, the flight ended up getting canceled last minute, so I never got to test it that time. But I've been on many flights since, and no problem at all.
Well, you trained with Mike Mandel, world-renowned hypnotist who is it Toronto, Canada?
He lives in Toronto or just outside Toronto. But yeah, I went up to the University of Toronto to study with him. He's actually the guy who helped me lose the weight originally. And I had to train with him. I mean, he's one of the most well-known hypnotists in the world. Yeah,
he's like one of the top guys. He has a podcast called Brain Software, the Brain Software podcast, if you want to take a listen to him. And so you find Mike, but how do you get trained to be a hypnotist?
So I found his course. It's a like 40-hour intensive week-long thing in Toronto. And it's like a fire hydrant of information they give to you. But then they have ongoing support afterwards, online certifications, online courses. And I'll tell you what, Charlie, as you know, a lot of it comes down to just doing it, right? So most of the things I've learned the basics from Mike, and now I've been able to finesse those basics with clients and take a client-centered approach where we can tailor the process specifically for them and their needs. So really I've worked with clients for the past couple of years now. I'm more full-time with it over the past 6 to 8 months. But I'm seeing dozens of clients, a month, and it's been special to see that change.
Well, if you're interested in checking Anthony out at his location, he's on Route 9, heading towards Hyde Park. Is there a name for that plaza, or it's just the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza?
Yeah, well, I just call it the Dunkin' Donuts building, and we're right in front of Stop and Shop, right past Darby's.
Right. When you're in your facility and you're doing your thing, you're trying to control the environment, but you hear other sounds from the other businesses around you.
Absolutely. So I didn't really answer your question about this before. Once again, it's not about it being quiet. For example, the room that I see my clients in is on the drive-through for Dunkin' Donuts. So very often we'll hear people, ordering their coffees in the morning. But it's really, when you're in that hypnotic state, you're so focused on the work that we can utilize other sounds to help you go even deeper into the experience. So, I've had construction next door blasting. The state of hypnosis is not delicate at all. Because I do a lot of work with eyes open. People talk to me during the hypnotic process. You're not just eyes closed, head down the whole time.
Right.
It's a unique experience for sure, though.
You've been doing it for a while. You say you've got a bunch of clients you're seeing on a monthly basis. Can you give us a success story or two of some of your clients?
Each experience is so unique. I love working with weight loss clients. I've had a ton of people have dramatic success very rapidly. And what's cool is even if you work on one issue, there are residual positive effects that happen from the hypnotic process where you will see all aspects of your life change. For example, I worked with a guy, he just wanted to be more confident, right? He had a lot of public speaking gigs. He's an executive and he wanted to be more confident in that setting, wanted to be more confident with his coworkers. So we worked on confidence, right? 3 weeks later, he messages me. He's like, Anthony, I don't know why, but I lost 11 pounds in the past 3 weeks and we didn't even work on weight loss. And yeah, sure, he had weight to lose, but it was a residual effect. His mind, in order to be confident, knew that his physiological state had to change. And so that was a really cool experience. And I see stuff like that all the time. For example, I had a lady who I helped with a fear of flying, in fact, and she realized that now her public speaking skills, her confidence went up just by reducing her fear of flying. So those are the cool things we see.
What are the things that either scientifically or just organically happen in the brain that make it work?
So the state of hypnosis can be measured with brain scans, depending on, which brainwave state you're in. But really the best way to explain it is we have neurons, right? Our brain fires. We have electrical impulses that go through our brain, like electrical circuits that fire depending on what emotion or what action, whether it's a physical action or thought, whatnot, right? And we can go in and rewire those neural pathways. It's like hiking in the woods. Say you're hiking in the woods, and the more often you go down that path, the clearer it gets, right? And the easier it is to take that path. The same thing happens with these neural pathways. The more often a habit or behavior occurs along those neural pathways, it's going to be like water. Our brain's just going to flow, right? So we go in and we rewire that and we create new neural pathways. A lot of it comes down to our perception of reality. What I look at my job is Charlie, say you and I are hiking in the woods, similar metaphor. We're walking down the woods or down the path, and you see a snake, right? And you freak out, you jump, and you have a very physical and emotional reaction to that snake, right? And I look back and I say, hey, Charlie, that's just a rope. and you look down and you're like, oh, wow, that's just a rope. So my job is to help people change perspective, right? And to realize that although their fear, their anxiety, their habits are very real, we can change the perception of that to make a more productive environment for them.
You had mentioned that you have good success with pain.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you have such great success, do you think, with people who have issues with, let's say, a knee or a hip or something like that?
So we touched on before that it's important for the person to want the change, right? They have to want it.
Yep.
Pain, most people don't want the pain. So that is a catalyst for change. Easy one. For sure. It works best for chronic pain that has already been proven not to be useful to the client. So if they have chronic pain, I always have them talk to their doctor first to rule out anything. But within 20 minutes, you asked about a story. I had a lady, she's been in pain for 10 years. And I worked with her. After an hour, she was hopping up next to her bed, literally like tearing up because she had never been pain-free in nearly a decade. And she texted me the next day saying like couldn't believe it. And this happens over and over again. So it's truly special.
Do you ever get any of those like uncomfortable moments where, you're hypnotizing someone and they go to a place that you weren't sure they were going to go to, and all of a sudden it gets dark and they're crying or they're, I don't know, acting out or something like that?
So people do cry in the office, but it's not always because they're sad. Our unconscious releases emotions in the form of tears and that response. So, some people cry, some people don't. What's cool though, Charlie, is that we can do everything context free. So people can tell me as much or as little as they want. So we can work on very serious issues and I don't have to know a single detail because their mind already knows what it needs to do. And I just guide the process. So I very rarely run into anything that wouldn't be easily handled.
So, all right. But if, and you use your analogy, we're hiking. If someone doesn't tell you that they have a fear of snakes, how do you tell them that, oh, it's just a rope? If they hold that back from you?
Well, so I need a guideline, right? Like obviously if someone specifically for a fear of snakes, I would want to know that's a fear of snakes. I wouldn't need to know that, their little brother shoved a snake around their neck when they were 4. You know what I mean? Like
oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Like I need a general idea, but I don't need the details of it.
Yeah. It's not like psychotherapy where you go back in time and you try and figure out relationships with your mother and your father and all that stuff. You don't have to do that.
We don't do any. I mean, we can very often. The metaphor I like to use for that is the only time I take people back in time is like a slingshot. We'll take you back in time to get the learnings and understandings from that event so we can shoot you into the future. I never spend time analyzing. I'm not a therapist. I can't even touch that area. But just as like a self-reflection piece of it, we do some what they call age regression.
How long does a session take? How long do you give for a session?
Anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, although, if someone has come to me before, some issues that, sometimes it just takes a 20-minute Zoom call and it's cleared up. So as quickly as, someone didn't develop a fear over time, it happened in a moment, right? Their amygdala fired off, took a snapshot of that event in a split second, they developed that fear, right? So we can go in with the same speed and clear it up.
And does it work better for a certain age group? I mean, in other words, you have a middle-aged person, you have an older person, and then you have a young kid. Does it work across the board?
It's actually a little easier with children, teenagers, because they're not as critical as adults as we are, right? Mm-hmm. So really hypnosis involves getting past that critical element of the mind, that filter that we use like when we're talking or making decisions in order to give our unconscious direct suggestions. So a teenager and a child doesn't have that, so it's easier to tap into. But really the best clients that I have are athletes who have competed at a high level because they visualized their whole life, right? Right. Same thing with business executives who visualize public speaking events. Anybody who's meditated consistently, done yoga. they've already tapped into that part of them that we work with in my office or via Zoom.
For a lot of people, the biggest fear that a person could have is public speaking. Even bigger fear than drowning. So you would rather drown than have to speak in public for a lot of people.
Yeah, I see a lot of people for public speaking just because the nature of being a small business owner. I'm in the small business community, so I attract a lot of those clients. What's cool is I don't want to take away from what I do, but it's a very easy thing to overcome through the hypnotic process. And we get some dramatic changes very quickly where you could have the ultimate stage fright and the next day you're feeling like a rock star. So,
wow, that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
All right. So the website is newleafhypnosis.com if you want to check Anthony out there, and you'll see his story. He's got a nice picture of him and his beautiful fiance. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
You look like a movie star in this photo.
That was a flattering picture of me.
No, I'm not saying you didn't look good, but you're a handsome guy, but you look. Before, when you were like 330 pounds, I could see you like as a background actor in The Sopranos. But now, you look like a leading man. This is great.
Yeah. It feels good. My life has changed, and I'm not saying that to be dramatic. I'm doing this because of how much it changed my life, and I can't spread the word enough. And I encourage people, reach out. I'll talk. I always do a free strategy call. People can call me. We figure out if hypnosis is even good in the first place for you. And I can also get people comfortable with how it's going to unfold. I always love talking about it and willing to take any phone calls, emails.
Great. All right. Well, once again, it is newleafhypnosis.com. You can go to the website, and then I'm sure you can contact Anthony through that. Final thoughts here. What's a message or a concept of hypnosis that you'd like to get across to the audience today?
The biggest thing, and we touched on this before, is that my job is really to de-hypnotize people from the negative self-talk they've been giving themselves. Right, yeah. It is a collaborative effort. It's nothing I do to somebody. People are participating in the process because hypnosis is a consensual, non-volitional experience, right? So it feels automatic, but all the work comes within, and it's really about giving the person back control to make the decisions that are productive for their lives.
Perfect. Well, Anthony, we want to thank you for coming on the show. Interesting topic, fascinating, by the way, and you're proof that it definitely works. So once again, I'll give you the website again. It's newleafhypnosis.com, and you can contact Anthony and just have a conversation with him, see if it might be something that would work for you. I know we all have these preconceived notions in our head about a lot of different things. Hypnosis might be one of them, but the secret to it is that if you want it to work, Anthony will get you there. Am I right?
No, you're 100% correct.
Okay, good. All right, Anthony, thanks so much.
Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate it.
All right, good talking to you.
You too.
So that will do it for this edition of the Just Sayin podcast. Hope you're enjoying these interviews and it's providing you with some knowledge and awareness and maybe just some entertainment value. Keep an eye out for next week's podcast because we're trying to track down Tampa Bay minor league Hudson Valley Renegades VP and PA announcer Rick Zolzer. We wanted to talk to him about just how feasible physical distancing is going to be at Dutchess Stadium for the minor league baseball season this summer. Anyway, stay safe, people, and be kind. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Just Sayin podcast.